here's our corrected out carbon piece. Looks so much better.
But there's like, it looks like streaks from like when you went to prep, but it's been compounded twice and finish polished. It's still in there, so it must be in the layers of the. You can see it just looks like streaking. See, like, like when you stand back here and look across it, you'll like catch glimpses of it.
Yeah, that's definitely a.
It's like in between.
In between thing, and you know, even looking down on it like this, it's hard. It's kind of hard to see. But wow, does that look better than
all the haze and the sand and scratches?
Yeah, it looks like carbon fiber again. Well, you know, another thing is too, usually with these internal pieces like this, they're not going to the same kind of finishing efforts on them that they do on the exposed carbon fiber, which is why they're all sanded up and not polished afterwards. But yeah, you're not going to correct what's left in there. And the funny thing is, you took this outside and looked at it in the sun, you probably never see that.
Yeah.
You're catching that at an angle through the T5s. That's still hard to see with the LED.
Yeah, it looks like you have leftover prep, like a leftover
Yep.
spray wax or something.
Yep.
You can see that in the
I wonder if
camera.
it's something they wipe the carbon with before they put the clear on.
Oh, it's cool without the wing on it. So I don't know what's up with the audio here. I think I forgot to plug or push the 1/8" connection all the way in. But anyway, Dan and I here are covering up any Molex or any exposed plugs so that we can do a quick rinse. We're also, and again, the doors have drainage inside of them. But even then, we're still not hitting it directly. So we're going to take and we're going to rinse the car off with some Geon Bathe, just to mainly get all the little Surbuff fingers off the car, get all of the polish residue and everything off of it, so that we're prepared for paint protection film. So this step, after bringing the car in and letting it sit for a few minutes, we close the door up, put all the other stuff away we're using to wash the car, or at least foam the car and rinse it off, and now we're going to dry it. This part is super important, is you don't want to scratch all of that work we just did. So these are Geon Silk dryers. These are the twist loop type towel. That the advantage of these is they don't lint, and they are pretty good for drying. I don't know. You either love them or you don't. I'm not in the love it camp. But they do a really good job of getting the car clean and dry, I guess you could say. And so we're going through this whole process of getting all the jams, all of the trunk lid, the hood area all dried out, so that way we can then grab compressed air, blow it off, and get ready for paint protection film the next day. Now we have more disassembly. Just when I thought we couldn't take any more panels off this thing. I feel like I'm heading into uncharted territory here. I'm gonna take my perfectly corrected paint, and I would normally be putting wax on right about now, but now we're gonna mess it all up, right? No, we're gonna protect the paint. And so what's the plan here? I mean, what's the process? What are we gonna choose? It's rare for me to go into anything without being at least a semi-expert. And so I'm leaving it up to you tell me what to do and how to do this. So what's the plan?
Yeah, so we corrected the paint. You guys corrected the paint. It's near perfect. A couple things here and there. We just rinsed it off, foamed it, so that got all the kind of compounding dust, polished dust out of the cracks and crevices. It blew it off as well.
Mm-hmm.
So any water and soap in the cracks, we blow it out. So hopefully it is perfectly clean right now.
Well, the other nice part about white is that if there happened to be, because it's inevitable, right? Isn't it inevitable over a piece of dust or something to get underneath the film? But the good news is hopefully we won't see that. Hopefully we won't get a black piece of dust on this, right?
So it's opposite, right? So with black cars polishing, that's kind of like the hardest because you see everything.
Right.
Well, laying film, white's the hardest
Oh,
because
really? Oh, really?
any little speck of dust is going to show off of a really pure white. So if we get any debris, it's going to be really noticeable. Hopefully it's going to be a white piece of debris, but it's never the case, right? It's always a black piece of lint on one little panel. Now we guard against that by using specific microfibers that don't lint. You know, I'm not going to wear anything. I'm not going to wear a red shirt tomorrow while I'm installing.
Right.
I'm not going to wear a cotton t-shirt that's going to lint all over the place. So there's precautions that we're going to take that we've learned over the years to make this installation as clean as possible.
So we're going to talk more specifically tomorrow because some reps from Suntech are coming, right? So
Yeah.
we're going to talk specifically to them, and they're going to educate me on this. So by the end of this, I'll be able to talk intelligently about what we're doing. You know, don't get me wrong. I know enough to be dangerous about this stuff, but I haven't done a lot of research. Like normally, like if I'm going to choose window tint, I'm going to start doing all kinds of work and figuring out what ceramic, you know, what ceramic tint is the best and what process is the best, and learning from the guy on how it's installed. And so I'm excited to kind of go into this to learn about how this all works and watch the process and watch you do your thing. So what's the hardest part of this whole process? I mean, we've corrected the car. Now the application part. What's the hardest part? Is it the edges you're telling me, getting that?
Yeah, I mean, that's really where the separation between okay installers and really good installers comes into play is edge work. You know, just like polishing, it's really easy to get this spot perfectly corrected. Well, you know, you can tell somebody that has a lot of time under their belt and a lot of expertise that the edge looks exactly like the center. That's very similar with paint protection film. So it's really easy to do a flat hood, but really contoured areas. I mean, this fender's going in a ton of different ways, a lot of contours, a lot of sub-contours, and really intricate edges for wrapping. So think about how many edges we're going to wrap just on this fender. We're going to wrap all the way into the bonnet, all into the headlights, all into the fenders. We're going to wrap all into the louver access, into the doors. So really the only edge that's not getting wrapped is right down here and partially right here. So we're going to go really head first into this and make sure it's as seamless as possible.
And then, so like what makes you choose, like why doesn't it get wrapped under here versus, and then why would it get done here? It's just where it is in the pump. Is there any, like, does it get wrapped underneath here?
That's a really good question. So sitting right next to us is a Z06 that we did maybe 3 years ago. And we disassembled it like crazy. I can show you one of the side pieces in the fenders. We took it off, spent probably 2 hours taking it off. You take off the wheels, take off the fender liner, get in there with and remove some bolts, take off a grill piece. We wrapped all the way into it and put it back on, and it looked seamless, it looked perfect. Had about the same gap as this. Well, he's a driver. He was out on a road trip, came back to us a couple months later, and the film was compressing in that area. Now, it wasn't lifting. The body panels were so tight together that it was pinching the film and pushing it outward. So every time that body would flex, it was just inching it out and inching it out. So when we took it off, it was still locked in, but the film was compressed and pinched. And it looked really bad.
Yeah.
Now it wasn't doing any damage. anything that we do with film isn't going to do any damage. It just looked really bad. So what we did is ended up just trimming around it, around that affected area. And you had an edge, yes, it was a cleanly cut edge, but you didn't have any compression. So when we decide what edges we're going to wrap, we look at what body panel's next to it, right? So there's a gap right here, there's not going to be any compression. Right here, there's a seal, there's not going to be any compression. But body panel on body panel, you know, if it's sitting in a garage and you wanted paint protection film on it, we can do that. But real world testing, we found that's not worth it because there's a possibility of compression. And you being, you know, 1,000 miles away.
Right. Not like you can just drive in and fix the car. Correct. Gotcha. So when you, when you cut this, how do you do that? You cut it on the paint, you just score it, or how does that work?
Yeah. So what we use is modified patterns. A couple areas we're probably just going to do 100% bulk. So that's just a piece of film that we hand cut. Like the hood, I'm not going to use a pattern for. We'll lay that on and hand cut everything. Fenders, I use a modified pattern. Bumper, I use a modified pattern and go systematically through the car. But what I'm going to do is take the rough pattern. We use Expel patterns. They're the best on the market right now. And we blow out the edges that we're going to wrap. So we extend the edges, 0.75 inches. So there's overhang, and that gives us, the ability to manipulate the fender and the pattern without worrying about edges being right on here and not on there. So we have some play with the pattern. Also, it enables us to wrap whatever edge we possibly want. So we take the raw pattern, blow it all out, and I can show you on the computer tomorrow. So what we're going to do is, the pattern is going to stop right here, but let's say we did blow out that edge, an inch over, we'll hand cut it right there.
Gotcha. Okay. There we go. PPF time. And then I do things only one way, all or nothing. So we're not like wrapping like a line. We're not going to do the hood. We're going to do every frickin' square inch of this thing.
I heard we're doing partial front end.
Oh yeah. Where are we? Let's pick where we're going to end
the
it.
line.
No, how about here? No. How about here?
Yep.
Yeah, no, we're going to do this whole thing. I think it's going to be great. I'm excited to, that my car will be protected. I'll feel more comfortable driving it. All the pros, I don't think I really need to mention them. The only con is that I have, plastic on the paint, and I just have to get used to that. We can go over and look at that GT Silver. It looks fantastic. So I think this is going to turn the tide, and I'm going to come around to the 21st century here. So, all right.
Coatings and PPF.
Let's do it. We're blaspheming here, and no longer good enough garage. This is going to be obsessed garage. So I guess it's the National Honda Museum dropped off a 1990 original Civic. Has 100 miles on it for all you Honda fanboys. Look how square that thing is. Shoot, it's got original, they're basically steely spare tires. This car suits you. You'd fit nicely in it. Oh, the windows have, the windshield has like it almost looks like a Mercedes blue tint.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a sweet machine right there, my friend.
So as far as
it's got the original automatic seat belts. I remember my mom's Subaru having those. That's purely Japanese. 1990, I was 10.
Yeah, when it comes to Honda history, this is a big one for them because it was one of the first cars. This was the first car to roll off the assembly line at East Liberty, which is one of the manufacturing plants, one of their biggest in America.
Yeah.
So this will go in their museum once we're done with it.
So what are you gonna do? Just correct
Paint
it?
correction and coating. Yeah.
They didn't have coatings in 1990. If they did, we didn't know about them. You should have to put carnauba wax on this. All original parts, probably original.
Yeah. Seat or car cover.
Yeah.
We'll just conveniently throw this away, I think.
Yeah, you can, if you use them right, they can be used properly. Although that one's not
it's like a mop
wool.
string.
Yeah, that's like wool. That's to keep it from rolling down the block. That's cool. That's funny. Love all the manual
Look how roomy
dials.
it is in there, though. I mean, it's a small car. It's pretty roomy for 1990.
Well, it doesn't have all the safety stuff in there taking up all the space. That's cool. Because what happens when the force pulls you back, your foot naturally comes off the gas. You have to keep your foot to the floor, foot to the